Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the BTC podcast here. I'm your host, Jason Hagholm. Today's going to be a special themed podcast, and that's women in MMA. Obviously, the sports really evolved over the past 10, 15 years with women taking over. And what better than to have a woman in Jasmine Jasudavicius that's really taken over the sport in mixed martial arts, especially in the UFC, being as dominant as she is, and someone that's going to be making their pro debut here in 2025 in Hayley Malcolm. So, ladies, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. The pleasure's ours.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I think the most first question is for everyone. Everyone's journey is different, but getting into MMA as a woman, it's maybe a different path. So for both Hayley and Jazz, let's hear your stories about how you got involved in MMA. I know Jazz, you've said your story before, but for those who haven't heard it, let's hear your story again.
Yeah, so I kind of like fell into MMA. I was like 26 when I started. I started late. I was just like going up with Chris to he was helping Jason Hagholm kind of prepare for an MMA fight out in PEI. And so he's like, "Oh, do you want to come out to PEI with me?" I'm like, "Yeah, for sure." I thought I would just like go out and enjoy the time out there. And then I was watching them train and I was like, "Oh, like this is very cool. Like I'm into this." Like they were sparring. I was like, I want to try this. This is really awesome. And then so once I finished that trip, then I kind of like came back and I just started like training more. And then I made like a small goal. I was like, okay, I want to take one amateur fight and then see how I like it. And then after that first fight, I really got the bug and then just kind of continued the ball rolling.
Yeah, and obviously it's worked out for you. And Hayley, your story.
Yeah, it's strange because it's actually pretty similar to jazz. Like I also started pretty late. I like grew up playing like hockey and lacrosse, and then after kind of high school, when that kind of naturally dies out for girls, like there's not really a next thing to do with it. I just like hated going to the gym. I didn't want to do anything. And then I started like a cardio kickboxing class, and it was just like kind of silly aerobic dancing along to music while throwing some punches. And then suddenly it just escalated to like, oh, a real boxing class and then a Muay Thai class and then going to actually BTC, like the gym started there. And then it was like, oh, now I'm doing Muay Thai and kickboxing and just basically one thing led to another. And then it's like one of those like record scratch moments. You're like, hold on, I'm at like I ended up doing like the world championships for kickboxing and it was kind of like, how did I get here? Like 2 years ago, I was like, Mom, I don't want to go to the gym. Don't make me go. And then suddenly you're like wrapped up in it and you just realize like how much fun it is and just like how I don't know, I found like a different side of myself and I never really had like a group of people that I really related to and then somehow kind of found them in the gym and found them with the people that I'm still friends with now and they're my core group of friends and it just like it's weird. It kind of like takes over your life in a way. Like it's so all encompassing, I think, compared to other sports because so much goes into it that it's like almost like a form of a cult that you're just like suddenly like, oh, it's all you're thinking about. It's all you're doing. That's what everything revolves around. And yeah, honestly, I wouldn't like it any other way, I think.
Wouldn't join any other call.
Exactly. This is the cult for me.
Yeah,
Well,
I
well,
feel
getting Well, getting into it too, like what was the experience just getting in? Like, did you feel was it harder to get acceptance because you were women getting involved in MMA, which is a very male dominated sport?
no, I don't think that it was like harder. I feel like almost it was easier because people were like, you were like the like not the normal thing. So people were more like willing to help and like I don't know. I think that people are a lot more accepting than I kind of anticipated them being.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree. It was just, I don't know, you just don't think about it. Like personally,
Yeah.
I don't think about being a girl in it. Like I just feel like one of the guys, like the exact same as everybody else, which to me is like the ideal in any situation, right? Like you don't want there to feel like there's any difference between men and women. And this, I think what we're both saying is like the perfect example of that. Of like, no, it's you're just somebody in here who's getting the shit kicked out of them one day and they're kicking the shit out of somebody else the next day and just taking your turn, taking your lumps kind of thing. It's kind of nice. It's like the ultimate equality.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Well, that's kind of, I guess, interesting because, you'd think maybe, the guys would take it, maybe look down, but obviously times have changed and how this sport in particular, I feel, I guess the women's acceptance is so much more than other sports, like other male team sports, like hockey or football or anything like that. But when you started going into practice, at least, did you think the guys were taking it easy on you, or were they taking it as hard on you as they would with their male sparring partners?
I mean, it depends on the guys. Like, I got obviously like T-Shay and Cody and stuff that are taking it easy on me. But then there's some guys that are coming in. I know that they're trying their hardest.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like you get like two personalities almost. You get the guys that are like, I can't lose to a girl, so I have to try my absolute hardest because their ego can't take the idea of losing or getting the better of. And then you get the other ones that are like, oh, she's just a girl. There's no way that she could even come close to me, so I won't even bother trying. Which again is like a whole ego thing where it's like, oh, their ego can't relate to the idea of us being on equal playing grounds. So it's all just personalities and just, yeah, finding the people that you trust, the training partners that you trust, and going from there.
What do you think about the opportunities for women in the sport right now? Like MMA, as we've said, women have grown, but where do you see the sport kind of the opportunities for them right now? And do you see the opportunities getting better for women in MMA as the years progress?
Yeah, I think it will like continue to get better. Like you'll see females like headlining cards now, whereas before they weren't even able to fight. And like my last fight, I was like the first female UFC fight in Saudi Arabia. So like the MMA is obviously growing all over the world. So it's really cool to kind of like be able to be one of the ladies in there showing martial arts off and hopefully giving it a good a good vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like you're leading it for all of us here, of course, in Canada, but like you just see it. I feel like so much of it, and let me know what you guys think, but like people just need to give it a chance. As silly as that sounds, like even to say like give it a chance is like kind of insane, but like just watch it. It's like a fight is a fight. Like you can watch a men's fight and it could be the worst thing you've ever seen because of whatever reason. And same thing could go for a women's fight, but you could also watch a women's fight. Like the one I always go back to is like Weili and Joanna, their
Yeah.
first fight, where it's like no matter who it is, you could change their faces to be men. You're gonna watch that and be like, that's an incredible fight. So it's just like putting your thoughts aside and just like enjoying the sport for what it is. And I think people would just, yeah. And I think people are starting to do that more and more. And then, yeah, like Jazz, like you guys getting to fight in Saudi Arabia, like that's crazy. Like it's so cool. But also it's like, okay, yeah, this should be happening. Like
Yeah.
this shouldn't be so insane.
Yeah, Jazz, for you too. Like obviously Saudi Arabia is a country itself that's been pretty restrictive to women's rights. I mean, they've only just been able to start driving out there, but you're the first woman to have a UFC fight and a victory in Saudi Arabia. What does that mean for you, for not just, a UFC fighter, but a female UFC fighter, and let alone a Canadian UFC fighter?
It's really cool. Like I'm getting into martial arts. I never thought that I would be able to have that opportunity or even like, make history in any sort of way. But I was driving back to the hotel and the Uber driver, he said like, he was all about it. He was like a hype man. It was like, it turned out to be super cool. He was like, do you understand, like, after you're dead and the next generation is dead and everything like that, then you'll still be in the history books as like the first UFC female win there. I'm just like, oh, like, wow, that's really cool to think about. Like getting into the UFC, I feel like just getting into the UFC, I'm like, okay, done. I kind of made a goal and I did it and I can be satisfied with that goal. So like everything on top is like a cherry on top. And to like be able to afford it, all the opportunities that martial arts brings, it's just like really cool. And I look forward to like Hayley and the future generations that will be able to like do even more in the sport.
Yeah, and I think that's the exciting thing is that you see more women trying to break into the MMA scene on the regional side of things. And I guess that brings me to my next question is when you were both coming up, because once you kind of hit a certain level, it's like it's harder to get fights. Like how discouraging was that for you? And like how did you keep pushing through when you were at such a level and girls didn't want to fight you because it would affect their record or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a really challenging phase, but I see some of the guys at the gym, like they're in that phase right now. And it's the hardest part because you're the closest, but you're also far as well. But you have to like stay ready and keep your weight down and be ready to take short notice opportunities and be okay with people turning you down and fights falling through. And like there's a lot of like adversity that comes into like that kind of part of your career, but everyone kind of has to go through it and just hope for the best. Maybe not everyone did, but everyone that I've talked to has had to go through it. And so just kind of staying on course and not getting out of the gym because you can't get a fight or anything like that. Like training like it's still, you're still going through the grind and keeping your head down and just accepting that you're going through an ebb and you'll have a flow soon.
That's
Yeah.
kind of where you're at right now, Hayley.
Yeah, kind of exactly that. And then it's just like hard to find them. And yeah, like you said, like it's something that I think everyone goes through at some point. And like for myself, like right now, because even with my last fight, it was the same idea. I think we did like a 3-month camp because it kept changing. Like, oh, we're gonna fight this day. No, 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 that girl backed out, so it's gonna be somebody else. And then you just kind of it is tiring, like mentally, to like try to keep that like intensity and keep that pressure up. But then at the same time, I try to like think back to be like, hold on, like we started this because we enjoy what we're doing. That like if you think of like a camp, like say you do a 10-week camp, like it's all for like a 15 or 25-minute fight. Like the hours and hours and hours you put in before that is all for like 15 minutes. It's crazy that like if you don't enjoy the like 800 hours you're putting in before, that 15 minutes isn't going to make any difference to like what's going on. Like in my mentality, I don't think you should be doing the 8 weeks, 10 weeks of camp for just to be like, oh, but on the fight, that's when it's all going to be worth it. That's when it's going to be fun. Da, da, like all that. Like, no, like if you don't enjoy the process, which is what you're in most of the time by like a huge comparison, then like to me, it's why are you even doing it? Like, so the frustration, yeah, does come in with like not trying to find fights because obviously that's what we're working towards with the whole camp and training and everything like that. But it's just part of the game. It's part of the sport, and you know, it like builds like your resilience too, because then you're like, okay, this, like you said, like Jazz, like I feel like you were in that position, and then you kind of like hit a stride, and then suddenly it's like boom, 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 and now you're getting regular fights in the UFC, and you found like a routine, like a flow with like the number of fights you're getting and all like that. So it's just like you said, it's just waves going with it and trying not to let any one of them take you out too bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and obviously, you're Hayley. You're about to try to make that launch into being a pro. Jazz, what was it like for you transitioning from amateur to pro, and then kind of realizing like I'm kind of stuck with this sport now?
Yeah. No, I remember my very first pro fight. It was like I actually like was standing there and I was looking at the cage. I saw the seats and stuff, and then I started like getting anxious and I like started crying. I'm just like, oh my goodness, like this feels like it was like too like fast or too much. Like it was like an overwhelming moment. But then I kind of went back to like what Hayley was just saying, like, no, I do love this. And like, why am I getting anxious about this? This is what I want to do. Like, I love the crowd. I love the hype. I love everything about this. And so, yeah, I remember my pro debut like it was yesterday, even though it's been quite a few years now. But my first fight the pro debut that I had was only 3 minutes, not 5, because I was the first fight after the amateur. So they thought it was still an amateur fight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, you just like roll with things like that. Funny things happen and whatever.
Well, yeah, obviously, and things worked out, but that's crazy. But obviously, you both have that strong mindset, like that. I don't think a lot of male fighters have, where it's like, hey, you got to enjoy the process, trust the process, as they say. And things have obviously worked out, and obviously, you both have good support systems and good teams that you train with, and you kind of met your partners there too. Like, has that been a big factor in what you believe is some of your success too? Like building a relationship and where the sport is kind of a part of your full part of your life now.
Yeah, like Hayley said, the MMA takes over your life. And so to be with somebody that's also in the sport obviously makes things a lot easier. Like two people pulling the ship as opposed to one is you have more momentum. And I feel like personally that having Chris kind of having his eyes on it as well as mine. Like sometimes I'm too close to the action. I get emotional. I'm tired or whatever it may be that I know maybe I'm not making the best decisions. I can always go back to like Chris having like a better view on things, a more clear view, because he's is kind of sitting from the outside a little bit more. So I think that's a huge bonus to have.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like having Urgis, obviously he was like a lot further along, like where I hope to be at some point in the future. And then I'm just kind of at the beginning, that it's good to have somebody that like knows you, but also like knows the entire path, that has done it themselves, that knows all the bullshit that you're going to expect and this and that nothing is like, oh shit, what do we do about this? Oh my God. So he's never panicking over anything because it's like, oh, I've been there before and I've seen it all and been through it all. So then I kind of don't panic as much. I'm not going to say I don't panic, but like I don't panic as much. But like, yeah, it just helps. And then it helps that like, that somebody has your back, like no matter what. That like, okay, if I completely shit the bed somehow and just have put an absolute stinker of a performance out, like it's going to be okay. Like I know he's still got my back and it's not going to be weird. It's not going to be uncomfortable. And that it's somebody that I think for probably both of us maybe feel this, but like somebody who's going to probably over prepare you because they have that personal investment. So we've both been around, all three of us have been around the sport so much and seen so much of it. When you see people get in the cage and you're like, oh my God, that person should not be in there. They don't look prepared. This is not going to end well. Or you see somebody who like, oh, I want to fight. And you're like, oh, you are so far away from being anywhere ready for a fight. That having our partner as like our coach, I feel like they put that extra effort because they don't want to see us as a human being get fucked up or hurt. But also as their fighter, they don't want to see us get hurt. So it only adds, I feel, to it. Like it only adds. And I think we both have a good dynamic with finding that kind of laneway of the relationship, but then also the coach fighter kind of relationship too. But, I think it's worked well for both of us so far, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
But there's got to be also the flip side where like, Chris will have a bad day of practice with the guys, or they go on like Chris has a couple guys fighting and they lose, or obviously Hayley, you probably were there when Urgis had to like step away from the sport where, give up his dream for, his own medical health, like where you got to be the nurturer that time. That's kind of showcasing the balance of how healthy those relationships can be.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's nice. It's nice to have that dynamic that there's always somebody there watching out for you, but there's definitely growing pains that you go through for it. Chris and I used to have this thing where once we got to this one bridge, then we wouldn't talk about practice anymore. So we would be in the car and we would be talking about practice and like whatever. I'd probably be emotional. And then we would like get to a bridge and then we'd like, okay, now it's like our relationship, and then we're not really like talking about MMA anymore, and we're making sure to like fill both cups, not just the MMA cup, the relationship one as well.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I think it makes sense. And it's, I think it helps too that even if like Jason, you just said about if you have a hard day or something isn't going well, but it helps to like come home to somebody who understands it. Right?
Yeah.
Because like how many times before you try to explain to one of your friends, be like somebody you had an issue in practice and you try to explain to somebody who doesn't train, who doesn't know, and they're just like, yeah, but I don't get it. They're like, no, but don't you understand why that was so annoying or why that was so awful? No, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, okay, I can't talk to you anymore. I need to find somebody that understands to complain to. So then you have someone that has been there and seen that side of it to like bitch to. And it's a lot easier to bitch to somebody who can bitch with you. I find at least.
Yeah.
How hard was that for you, Jazz, though? Like, you're a very competitive person. Once you got to that bridge where you had to be like, so what are we doing for dinner? Or just another normal conversation, like where you knew you had to mentally switch from competitor Jazz mode to human Jazz.
I usually there was like a lot of just silence from the bridge to the house, and then by the time you get to the house, it's like back to normal. But yeah, it was. I feel like that's one thing I'm very thankful for, that we're past all those like growing pains. We know how to work very well as a team together, but no, it was challenging at first, especially when we first made that rule, because we would just talk about things and then we get home and we're still talking about it, and then it's like I felt like I never kind of like turned it off. And then so it felt like that was like draining to me. So we thought about that a little like kind of landmark to stop talking about it, and it definitely helped me. I mean, everyone will be different, but that was something that like Chris and I did that was super effective.
Yeah, that's a great strategy to have as well. Obviously, with MMA, sacrifices are a big thing, and do you feel like there's more sacrifices, being women in the sport? Obviously, like Jazz, I know you probably had a camp going up for this fight in Saudi Arabia around Christmas time. That probably was a really hard sacrifice. And I know, Hayley, you've probably had to sacrifice so much time away from your family. I said gearing up for, camps that were about 3 months because your opponents kept changing.
Yeah, it was definitely a sacrifice. Missing Christmas, missing New Year's, being alone, like FaceTiming my family on Christmas, like it wasn't fun. But if I have to be away at Christmas, Thailand is a good place to be away, on the beach and able to kind of distract myself with training. It was cool. Like Whaley was there. And so on Christmas, there wasn't many people in the gym, but both her and I were there. And so it was definitely like reassuring, and it felt like the sacrifices were worth it. But yeah, there are tons of sacrifices that come from doing this sport, but so far in my experience they've all been worth it.
Yeah.
Hayley?
Yeah, I agreed. Like it doesn't feel like a sacrifice in a way. Like it is like on paper you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, I missed that and I missed this and like that kind of sucks. But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, but there's nothing else you'd rather be doing, and it's necessary to get to where you want to go. Um, Something that I think I struggle with that is just like trying to explain it to other people or trying to explain it to my family and friends sometimes. It's hard to like try to get that across that like, no, mom, I'm sorry, but like I can't go out for dinner on my birthday because like I'm training and I can't have that to eat. Like my fight is like 6 weeks after that or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, but it's only one dinner, sweetie. It's not that big of a deal. Like, it'd be really nice to see you on your birthday. I'm like, no, I know that and I appreciate that, but please stop asking me because I can't like, excuse me, I can't go out for dinner. I can't have cake or, oh, what kind of cake do you want? I want every kind of cake, okay? But I can't
Yeah.
have any, okay? Like after, just bake it and freeze it. I don't know, do what you got to do. But like, it's like, that's such a frustrating part that I think fighters have to deal with that, again, is something that other people just can't understand or relate to. And that's a sacrifice that we're all making like every day, it feels like all the time. But again, it's like, yeah, I know. Okay, it's necessary for where we're trying to get to what we're trying to do. Some days are easier than others, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of missed things, but I don't know, you try to find ways around it and you still enjoy what you can. And like Jazz being in the gym with Wei Lee on Christmas. Like that's such a crazy story. That's such a crazy headline if you were to read that. But like, cool, not a lot of people can say they did that. Nobody else can say they did that. So
Well, yeah, you talk about the sacrifices, and you also seem like you have good like support from your both your parents, in the journeys of it. But what was it like telling both your parents, I'm going to be a fighter? That's what I think my career path is now. Doing mixed martial arts, where I'm sure maybe your parents didn't even know what mixed martial arts was, but Jazz, obviously, I know a little bit about. I know your parents hadn't seen you fight when you fought for BTC, but I believe they were there. But what's it like now seeing them watch you rise to the top of not just the UFC, but really become like the face of Canadian MMA?
It's when I first started, my mom was like, when are you going to grow up and get a real job? Like that. Now that I'm in the UFC, she's all about it. She's like, when's your next fight? They'll do whole trips. Her and my sister and brother will like come. They're so excited about it now. They absolutely love it. My dad, he still doesn't like it. He says it makes him like sick to his stomach to watch me fight. He doesn't like going to the fights. He doesn't even like watching them after. Like, I get it. I'm his little girl. And so
Yeah.
he likes that, I'm doing something that I love and that I'm able to like have a lifestyle because of it and all of that. But if it was his choice, he wouldn't want me going in the cage.
What about you, Hayley? What was your parents' relationship with you and MMA?
Kind of the opposite. My dad was always like, yeah, great. Like, that's cool. And I think I've always been like sporty and athletic. So for him, it was like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. Like just something else athletic that she's doing and supportive of it. He thought it was kind of like cool that his daughter was doing this, like to his friends and stuff. And then my mom is the opposite. And she's like, oh God, you're not doing that again, are you? Oh, are you sure you want to do that? And I still like get like a message every, I swear, like 2 months. Like, so how's that policing application doing? You still thinking about doing that? Or, how's that? You still got time. You can still do that. And I think you'd be really great at this and that. But she's slowly starting to like come around. And at my last fight, I fought in Michigan, and she was like, no, I'm not coming. I can't come. I can't watch, whatever, which was fine. I didn't expect her to. I'd already like resigned to like, she's not coming. Great. And then she texts me on the day, except we have like the location sharing. So when I pull up her phone, it says Detroit. And I'm like, oh, she showed up. So then I'm like, so now I'm stressing about watching her watching me. And it's like a whole thing. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I can't do anything about it now. She's here because she feels like, oh, I'm her mom. I need to be close. What if she needs me or something? So then she ends up coming, but she doesn't come into like the ballroom where the fight was. She sits outside the whole time, makes friends with like a security guard who then runs inside to give her updates on the entire fight. I come back, I'm like, oh, did you watch? She's like, no, but my friend Crystal here, she told me everything that happened. She said you did really well. And she's like, I was like, okay, I guess I'm glad you came. She's like, no, I needed to be here. It's good. I'm proud of you, but like, I really don't like that you do this. Okay.
Well, at least she was there, but like, does that kind of does that put more pressure on you knowing your mom just showed up, Hayley? Or when, now Jazz, your family comes, does that put extra pressure on you, especially when you're fighting in front of like 20,000 people?
Yeah, the last thing, like my biggest fear isn't like me getting hurt or losing or anything like that. It's my mom watching me get hurt. Like I always think of like that fight that I had with Priscilla. It could be me on the other side. Like I could be Priscilla in some of these, and God forbid, I hope it never happens, but there's a chance, right? And so I would hate my mother to have to watch something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing is, yeah, it's not so much about like, I don't really care what happens to me. Like we've been trained. We're in there because we should know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're choosing to do it. But like, yeah, like my mom there watching is probably the thing. So it's probably best that she stay outside. I'm glad about that. That at least is like some sort of barrier. But then at the same time, Jazz, I don't know if you feel this, like when you're actually fighting, everything else melts away. That
Yeah.
like you're not actually thinking about it anymore. Like those are just the thoughts when you're sitting in your hotel waiting to go to the venue, or you're sitting in the back waiting to get called or whatever it is. That's when those thoughts come in. But once you're actually in there and you're actually like fighting it,
Nothing is it. Yeah.
yeah, you hear kind of some stuff, but not really. I don't hear anything much, at least, that
Yeah.
you kind of block everything else out, which is, I guess, the best way to do it.
I agree.
Jazz, on your rise to the UFC, you fought just the one time here with BTC back in Niagara Falls. Hayley, you're planning on turning pro and eventually fighting for us here at BTC. You know, with two women that are having success, Hayley on the regional scene, Jazz obviously now at the biggest level. What's it like for you that Jazz got to compete and Hayley, you're going to compete in a promotion that's run by women?
It's super cool. Like I love I love Sherry being able to promote these fights. It's so cool to like see her at the shows. I'll see her at like sparring every once in a while if I go down to BTC. Like it's awesome. They're doing an amazing job.
Yeah, it's just cool. Like I just love seeing girls being anywhere where it's like, oh, they're not usually there. This is usually like run by men or controlled by men, but then it's like, oh, there's some girl that's like, screw it, like I'm gonna do it myself. So I'm just always rooting for the girls, honestly. Like girlies, they can do whatever they want. Like I'll support you. I got your back no matter what. So to have like, yeah, just another girl that like just we just not that it's like a completely different experience or life, but like girls just have to face other stuff. We just see things differently. We have to like mentally deal with things differently, a little more emotional about things, though men do have to remember that anger is an emotion. So when they get all angry, that counts as being emotional. I get in this argument all the time, but like girls deal with things a little bit different and feel things differently. So then to have somebody else who's running a promotion with those things in mind is it's just cool because it feels like more like closer and closer towards like equality and trying to just like give everybody a shot. And at the end of the day, it should just be the best person for it. It shouldn't matter if it's a boy or a girl doing it, but you know.
What's the biggest thing that you feel like you, obviously just being a woman, that you have to deal with differently for both Hayley and you, Jazz?
I would say like social media pressure. Like most girls are like just showing their tits and shaking their ass and like, doing that kind of stuff. And like maybe it's a jealousy thing because I can't. But I don't know. Like I feel like there's like a little of there's the pressure of that a bit. And but I don't know. I think it's nice to like see other girls and like I guess like be a girl that's on social media and still like getting good numbers on there and having like good popularity. But I have like genuine fans. They're not just like people that are following me because they think that I'm hot or whatever. Like that kind of stuff. I think that's something, and there's always like the battle of being a girl in a male dominant world, but it's kind of cool to be a female in MMA. I think actually I feel like there's more perks than there are like negatives.
Yeah, it is like cool sometimes. Like I enjoy being sometimes the only girl in a room full of guys where like once you get that past that point of like being intimidated by it, once you feel like when you walk into a room that like, no, I should be here just as much as them. Once you're at that level, it's like such a cool feeling because then you're just like, you know what, I've earned it here, and maybe felt like you have to earn it a little bit more than men feel like they're just kind of like born with it sometimes. That's a really cool feeling. But for me, the biggest like challenge, I guess I would say, would just be like kind of the physical challenge of it, right? Like girls have different physical issues that we have to deal with on a cyclical fashion that guys just can't understand it. Like some days you wake up, depending on where you are, like in your cycle, and you're like, I feel dead right now, and I don't want to move, and I don't want to get up, and nobody talk to me, and nobody even look at me, don't even friggin' think about touching me. And it's like, oh, I still have to get up, and I still have to go to practice, and I still have to try to wrestle up from half guard, even though I don't have an ounce of energy in my body right now. And you're just mad already. And just, yeah, the emotions of that. And then there's moments, Jazz, I don't know if you have those moments where you look around, you're like, these guys don't even know. They don't even understand what I'm going through right now. And they'll never get it. And you're just like, I'm a miracle right now. I should be applauded for even showing up to practice right now. And where's my pat on the back for that? And sometimes that's the win.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think that's a thing too, that from a male perspective, like sometimes you'll see a woman miss weight and it's more so because it's like a cycle, hormonal cycle issue that's affecting that. And then you'll just see the fan base like, oh, unprofessional, fat. I'm just like it's not like dude that just missed weight because he was being unprofessional or anything like that. I still think it maybe never will happen, but that's, I think, the biggest thing from a male fan trying to understand the women's side of things. Like, yeah, you guys, your bodies are different than ours.
Yeah.
Has that been hard for both of you to, I guess, deal with and explain to people? I mean, obviously, as you said, Jazz, you're now at the biggest level and you probably have to deal with social media more. You haven't had any of those issues, thankfully, like a weight miss or something, but it's an issue that every woman has to deal with in combat sports.
Yeah, no, it's a continual thing, but I mean, nothing you can do about it. So you just got to deal with it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those things where you just complain about it. I complain about it at least, but like at the end of the day, you just got to do it. But yeah.
It's nice to have other girls because then you can actually complain to them and then they can actually empathize. Whereas they're like,
yeah.
Yeah, I know, Jazz, you got a couple girls that you get to train with there at NTT. So that's obviously a nice to have a female support system.
Yeah, no, we got a good little group right now. It's awesome. Oh, I'm so thankful for our girls.
Well, I don't want to keep you guys too long, but the last thing I'll ask here is, where do you see the sport of MMA going in, say, the next 10 years for the women? Because the action, the athletes keep getting better, but what do you see happening for female mixed martial arts by 2035?
I think it's just going to continue to grow. Like there's going to be more females headlining cards, and the pay for females is the same, if not maybe even more for females as opposed to men. So I don't know, looking forward to like seeing the growth of it.
Yeah, I think it'll just keep going the way it's been, which has just been on kind of an uphill climb so far. So I think, more, and I hope more like big personalities in a way, right? Like you have like the superstars from the UFC and, the people in history books that maybe in 10 years will have those like girls on Mount Rushmore of MMA fighters, So just more time and just hope more girls get that shine and get the attention and get the spotlight because, we both prove that like we're working just as hard as all the guys that we're training with. We're putting in the same amount of effort, the same grind, the same, up and down and camps and everything's the same. It's that's what's so amazing about the sport too, is that there's not really any difference between the men's and women's category, right? You look at most other sports, tennis, the men play 5 sets, the women's play 3. Boxing, the rounds are different lengths, or like all other sports, there's usually a difference. Like MMA, no, there's literally, it's the exact same. So I hope people can appreciate that more and take that into account. And then everyone just gets treated the same and gets the same attention, same spotlight, and the same appreciation. And yeah, I think it's headed in an amazing direction from where I'm sitting now watching it.
I think overall girls work a little bit harder because they feel like they have to like prove something a bit more, but maybe I'm just biased.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound too cocky and say we work harder, but we definitely do. You're right. I agree 100%.
I think it's a fair point. Obviously, I think, just the perception of women in the sport, I think still is trying to be knocked down, even though some of the best fights you'll see on any MMA card are the women, like whether it's BTC, UFC, PFL, doesn't matter. The women always put on some of the best fights out there. just getting some more, name recognition, some stars, and some more intrigue, I think, is what's going to happen. And plus, getting some women from some new markets as this sport continues to grow, especially in, Africa, different parts of Europe right now, different parts of Asia. I think that's what we're going to see. That's going to be really exciting within the next 10 years. And Jazz, I know you'll still be a part of that. And Hayley, you'll definitely be a part of that. And probably we'll be talking about you maybe in the UFC like we are with Jazz here. So, ladies, I thank you for your time. Great chat here on, women in mixed martial arts. And Hayley, looking forward to see you make your pro debut come the summer. That's the plan right now. And Jazz, can't wait to see you when you step back inside the octagon.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure chatting, and I look forward to watching Hayley's growth.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And Jazz, I think I'm coming to NTT next week to spar with the girls on Saturday. So I've heard good things about the girls in that room, and I don't have any girls to train with. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Awesome.
Hayley enjoys the female clique over there at NTT, which is a good thing to see. More women there at Niagara Top Team. But Jazz, Hayley, thank you for your time, and I can't wait to you guys continue your paths in the sport.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.